And good evening. We're on day 3 of TPM 24, sponsored by the S&P Global Market Intelligence (JOC). But that's not why we're here today. We're here today at the JCT party, hosted by Julio Torres, president of JCT.
Yeah.
Julio, thank you so much for the invitation.
No, thank you guys for coming.
Oh, it's an honor. I have to tell you, I love your story. I'm the son of immigrants.
Yeah.
My dad was a janitor. My mom was a factory worker. They worked their tail off to get me into college.
Yeah.
I love the story of how you created JCT. Can you tell our audience how the company originated?
Well, we started operating in 2012, and in 2014 is when it really took off with all the issues that were happening over at the ports. I remember CUT had an issue, the chassis went private, and the economy was a bit weird as far as like the cost of cargo. And I remember in 2014 thinking, oh, I'm so afraid of telling a customer that their rates are gonna go up. So let me just go out and do this on my own, which, me being who I am today, I should have just said, you know what, I have to do what's bad for everyone. Let me just increase these rates. That's what I should have done instead of going out on my own and saying, I'm just going to do it on my own, right? So that's one of those things where I end up having to figure out that there's a certain amount of regret, but I don't necessarily regret where I am today because I feel that who I've become as a person has happened more so because of the challenges that I've faced and the craziness that this industry gives you, especially on my end, which is on the trucking side, because there's so many components to providing the delivery that no one ever sees.
Sure.
And so I enjoy it. I really do enjoy what I do.
Well, it's really interesting. Being an entrepreneur means that you evolve and you change over time and you have to change on the fly. What have been some of the biggest pivot points in those 10 years since you've had the company that you've had to change?
The main one that I always mention to everyone is that I love logistics. I love delivering a load. I love the success that it is involved with delivering it. But the main pivot that I've had to do in the last 10 years is I've had to give up the logistics part of it, and I've had to become a people manager. That is the huge shift in my daily life that has impacted me on a day-to-day.
I really want to give you some credit for that. I've been a solopreneur for some 20 years, and I know how difficult it is to lose control. And so for you to have been able to make that pivot, that truly shows a successful mark that you've made. Because, when I look at some folks in your organization like Ian Whalen and some of your other team members and salespeople, you've put together a core training program to get these folks into world-class topics. And how have you done that?
You have to understand, first and foremost, I had to understand and I had to accept that I cannot do this alone. Like what you just mentioned, I wish that I could do this on my own, right? The person that I am inside wishes that I could do this on my own, but it's not possible if I don't care for and nurture my team and teach them what they need to do. I feel that what we've done at JCT for our team is we've made it where they can streamline, learn, but the most important thing I feel that I've done for my team is I've made it fun. Our office is fun. I try to keep it interesting. Obviously, like any other business, you run into problems. You can't be happy 100% of the time, but you have to understand, me as a person, I have to understand that I have to make it fun for my team. And I think that's the main thing, because once they feel it's fun, they're happy to learn from there.
I think it is a truism what you said about having fun and letting go. As an entrepreneur, it is always a challenge to give that part up. Your email, your social media commercials on, you checking your email. I just off the hook. I mean, I thought to myself, am I watching a mirror image?
Yeah.
This guy doesn't leave the office until every last email is checked.
Yeah.
And I think that the vibrancy of what you're doing, only means that the expansion of your company is going to continue. Tell the audience a little bit about your plans for 2024. What are maybe two of the three top scenarios that you're hoping to achieve for the JCT organization?
Well, I would say that we are hoping to consolidate our gains that we've been able to work up in the last few years. I know that COVID has created a very good market for a lot of individuals, but
Right.
ultimately we're not there anymore. And I think that's where I want to concentrate on, is consolidate the amount of growth that we've been able to do. But while I'm doing that locally, we are also now actually working on our Chicago product. So we have an office in Chicago now that we're hoping can actually grow as quickly as we grew in LA Long Beach ports. And I'm hoping that it is as fun as it was here. That's the main thing. As far as the other little things that I know we're working on bonded warehousing, we're working on bonded trucking, and I feel that those are going to be major fun headaches. And I think that's kind of where I have to keep my head at for the next few months.
I think it's interesting what you said. I think sometimes the best organic growth comes from even just making little finer tunes on the needle and some niche growth within that. When you start to look at all that organic growth, do you focus on a certain segment of the market? So if you look at a BCO as, like, for example, a retailer or a manufacturer, is there any sweet spot that maybe BCOs will look at your profile and say, hey, that's the kind of company that we want to be with?
I think for us, we love to concentrate on the problematic type of accounts, because everyone would enjoy having an easy account, and I enjoy easy accounts too, as much as the next guy or the next gal. But I feel that if you're going to grow in this industry, you really have to find the problems or the issues that someone just doesn't want to deal with. What we've found in our world, in our industry, is that the more you help someone do less of their job, the more they will rely on you,
Right.
and the more work they will give you. That's my angle in this particular segment.
Julio, it's really interesting. I find that when I walk into a client and I actually tell them their problems, I know you're having this and this and this as an issue, and here are my solutions. I usually win the day because of the solution. Now, with you being the head of a major organization in trucking, and you probably have seen every problem that's possible, it must be very easy for you to diagnose, what a BCO might be going through. Tell us a little bit about that.
100%. And for those that are tuning into my week in recaps, I'm dealing with a customer that is having those issues now. We have to understand that we have to nurture them, we have to teach them, and we have to hold their hand. And I think that's the most important thing that we all have to understand, is that sometimes a customer needs to be retaught. They need to be re-educated in the manner of which the load is going to pick up, deliver, terminate, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Julio, do you find that, like in my business, I find that I have to kind of, I'll call it cross-sell or cross-pollinate against different levels of the organization. So, for example, I love traffic managers, I love logistics managers, but I also love procurement people. I also love financial people. I also love controllers and CFOs that are looking for a healthy bottom line. When you go in and market your services to a typical customer, what kind of personas do you touch or you look for?
Honestly, we look for the person who is stressed out, right? Because for us, I look at it in the sense of every load is a problem. How do you solve it? And so my angle is I love to find when a customer is beyond their last thread of wanting to deal with it, which usually involves another carrier destroying it or causing a major problem. And I enjoy coming in and finding that. Because everyone ultimately, and at the end of the day, wants to punch out at a certain time, and they want to disconnect. And I feel that that's where I've been able to have the best gain, is in finding that person who is stressed out and wants to clock out, basically.
So it's really interesting. So it almost sounds like, if I hear you correctly, it almost sounds like the title of the person is really agnostic. It doesn't really matter who they are.
No, because ultimately it could be the highest person at the company, but like I mentioned earlier, we all need someone. And so usually it's the higher person who gets us through the door, yes, but I know coming into that meeting that I have to appease and I have to make the person who is actually running the account happy. And how do you make them happy? You take that work from them and you make their life easier, basically.
I think because you've seen so many different aspects of the business, you're probably so well positioned. And this is maybe where some of that entrepreneurship gets rubbed down to your employees and staff because you're able to train them in so many different scenarios that they might expect. Is that an ongoing process within your organization?
100%. Every day is a day to learn for us, and I enjoy learning new things. You know, for example, today there was a container that had a hole in the floor, right?
Wow.
And so I wanted to see what caused that hole. I wanted to see what the problem was, so that I knew now, okay, well, this is how we're going to deal with it next time. And it was clockwork, right? We contacted the steamship line, we contacted the customer, we let everyone know that there were issues, and it got fixed very easily. Wow. Now imagine if we didn't have that mentality and you just allowed that container to go into the terminal and someone found out that the container was damaged. Well, now you have a bigger problem because now the steamship line is going to be upset. The customer is going to say, well, hey, you never told me, right? So there's a lot of things that you have to learn. But I love teaching. I personally love learning every day. Every day.
I love getting in front of the whiteboard and strategizing. Yeah. It sounds like you do too.
100%.
We're speaking to Julio Torres, the CEO of JCT Transport. Julio, I have a question. I'm really good friends. I've become close to Nicole at Candor Expedite. I don't know if you know Nicole Glenn.
No.
She's based in Dallas and she runs an expedited trucking company.
Okay.
And she was telling me a story about their world-class service and how a retailer called her at home in the middle of moving her house and she had to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Can you tell maybe a quick antidote or maybe one story where you stepped in and saved the day?
I mean, we do it every day, but I would say there's always a situation where a customer needs that load. For us, particularly in this world, there's always that situation where the customer needs that load on a Friday at 2:30. Their customer just dropped it on them, and hey, JCT, Julio team, can you guys make it happen? And my angle is always to my team, yes, because the way you succeed for them on a Friday and make their weekend better, now ingrains us into their mind, and they'll call us on Monday and say, thank you.
Oh, you know what? You just taught me something. I think what you answered that question is really interesting because rather than give an example, you gave a scenario that happens constantly.
It happens every day.
So it's almost like those tough situations are not as challenging for JCT because they kind of rinse and repeat.
100%. 100%.
You've been amazing to talk to. I have one question, lad, and it's probably the most single important question of the night.
What is that?
Who's your tailor?
I don't have a tailor, but my order or my, my fashionista is Ian.
Oh,
Ian Whelan, yeah.
I was afraid you would say that. That's not the answer I wanted.
He is my fashionista.
Julio, thank you for having us, and thank you for the time
you.
on camera today. We've been terrific to talk to, and I can't wait to know more and learn more about you.
Yes,
thank you.